1900s societal norms rely on the core values of patriarchal hierarchy and stereotypical behaviors that are expected of women. The patriarchy often promotes how women should be valued by society through only their possessions and stereotypical interests rather than their attributes. Composers challenge the traditional materialistic values that are forced upon women, bringing in the ideas of oppression and social hierarchies through written texts. This is seen through F. Scott Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby and Scott Neustadter and Michael H. Weber's film 500 Days of Summer. Fitzgerald and Neustadter both implement elements of their own lives into their pieces of literature to convey the same idea. Through silencing the voices of women in society, power and oppression reinforce hierarchies that exist in our world. The patriarchal values that have been followed within society silence the voice of women through the cycle of oppression that supports the idea of hierarchies. Both The Great Gatsby and 500 Days of Summer explore the ideas of women's agency and autonomy in patriarchal society. The Great Gatsby provides evidence to the objectification and dehumanization of women, suppressing the ideas of the ideal woman to a set stereotype. The Great Gatsby portrays the idea of the perfect woman as what's known as a flapper. The ideal woman was described to wear her hair bobbed, wear short dresses, drink, be wealthy, and support the hedonistic behaviors of men. A perfect example of this is Daisy and Jordan Baker, who both embody the idea of the new woman. Daisy does not necessarily gain her wealth for herself, but through Tom. However, Daisy is still considered a flapper due to her beauty, support for hedonism, and alcoholism. Fitzgerald portrays his own values into the character of Gatsby, as well as the role of Ginevra King, who was in an affair with Fitzgerald over 2 years, as Daisy. Shortly after graduating from college, the affair ended due to the statement from King's father, "Poor boys shouldn't think of marrying rich girls." This became one of the key ideas that Fitzgerald considered when writing The Great Gatsby, using this line to express the core values of wealth in relation to the values of individuals, introducing the importance of materialism within relationships. These values uphold the idea of oppression to the high standards for being an ideal woman in society. 500 Days of Summer also shows this idea of the ideal woman through the visual and auditory imagery seen throughout the film. During the scene where all the characters are asked to describe their perfect woman, Tom's co-workers describe exact values that they want in their significant other, all alluding to the same idea of being a real person. However, when it gets to Tom's turn to describe his perfect woman, Tom finds himself unable to answer the question. This shows Tom's unreliability through the idea that it is stated early within the movie that this belief stemmed from an early exposure to sad British pop music and a total misreading of the movie The Graduate. Making reference to the 1967 film The Graduate, which depicts a standard stereotypical rom-com film where the protagonist ends up with their love interest and lives happily ever after. This is also seen in the scene shortly after, where we are seeing two separate panels labeled Expectation and Reality, depicting the thoughts of Tom and how he imagines that his night out would go, strengthening the idea that Scott Neustadter and Michael H. Weber purposefully implement factors that make Tom appear as an unreliable narrator to show the challenge and societal hierarchies made between genders and the oppression of women's freedom. Different ideas and beliefs about the concept of fate have altered the thinking of society towards the idea that a perfect relationship can be maintained so long as the stereotypical attributes that each individual possesses fits this patriarchal norm that is expressed within literature. The idea of living in this happily ever after story has Tom absorbed in the belief that the ideas of fate and fairy tale are real and can be applied into real life. This illusion can also be seen in The Great Gatsby through Gatsby's belief that he is seen as this knight in shining armor that can save Daisy from Tom. This gives us the impression that Gatsby places value on Daisy through her obtainability and perceives Daisy as an object that he can simply obtain through saving her. Gatsby places multiple false values on Daisy, one of which being her past relationships. It excited him too, that many men had already loved Daisy. It increased her value in his eyes. The irony of the statement shows Gatsby's lack of understanding of the meaning of loving somebody. Similar to 500 Days of Summer, where Tom's perspective of romance is tainted by the ideas of stereotypical gender roles in present relationships, as well as attributes that are seen in a person to make them loved. Furthermore, Fitzgerald focuses on expressing the idea of patriarchal values rather than completely opposing it. He does this to put emphasis on the concluding events of the book as a result of such a belief. The altered thinking of society causes the implementation of stereotypical norms that are placed on women. The ideas of a patriarchal society and gender-based hierarchies enforce the idea that women should be valued through forced traditional materialistic and behavioral values, rather than true core values that are shown by the person. Composers challenge this idea through text by portraying these values as negative impacts on relationships. Fitzgerald uses The Great Gatsby to express this belief and criticize the patriarchal and stereotypical values that are placed on certain groups in society, including women. Scott Neustadter and Michael H. Weber use 500 Days of Summer to express the false idea of values of romance through Tom's personality, and how they are falsely supported through texts that reinforce the ideas of fate. Neustadter implements aspects of the previous affair that he had with a woman named Jenny Beckman, who seemed to share a relationship with Neustadter that resembled Tom's relationship with Summer. Neustadter did this to both show a different point of view of a failed relationship with biased opinions from Tom's point of view, and to portray the idea that a perfect relationship cannot be derived from simply materialistic values such as appearance, possession, and common interest. Both of these texts highlight the same key ideas of social hierarchies, yet both express the same belief and ideas through different strategies. So, how do you think women should be perceived in modern-day society?